It's time to work on the shaping and joinery on the legs of my son's Barnsley Hayrake Table. I ordered a 16mm Narex chisel so I wouldn't have to triple chop the rest of my mortises. I used mineral spirits to clean up the manufacturing and protective oils left on the chisel. Alcohol may have been a better choice if I had it on hand. The mineral spirits removed some of the lettering on the chisel. As with any new chisel, it's important to tune it up and properly sharpen it first. I've gotten the back side of the chisel close to what I consider to be ready for sharpening by flattening it on some coarse sandpaper on top of a DMT diamond stone, and then polished out my scratches with the diamond stones. Most of the machine markings are gone, and the dish at the leading edge of the chisel is now flat. The front of the chisel needed a little more work as well. The scratches from sharpening are all in the center. The outside shiny parts are actually machine marks where more work needs to be done. I'll go through the rest of the grits with the diamond stone to sharpen the chisel, getting a wire edge before moving up in the grits. The new chisel matches the size of the leg mortises. We only have one pass to make now, and the sidewalls should be cleaner. The hayrake has through mortises, so we have to chop all the way through the legs, inside first, then the outside. These are the white pieces that adjoin into the leg mortises. The top and bottom are 1/4 of an inch in. It's especially critical that the bottom, because that's where the tenon's going to rest, is exactly 1/4 of an inch up to fit that mortise. I've set my marking gauge and have blue tape. I've got a line scribed across. On the width, I'm using the width of my chisel as the guide for the width, and again I've used a marking gauge that gives me the same width on either side of this the tenon here. So I'll be scribing that out, and once I have it scribed, I'll leave the tenon part in place and just cut down all the way to my line for the leg. I have letters on the ends of each of these so that I can match them up to the corresponding leg part so my joinery goes in the way it should. For the depth of this, I do have 1/4 of an inch here at the end that is for exiting. It is a through tenon. Put the leg on top, scribe the other side, that way it matches up. Now, the legs have all been planed down to the same thicknesses, so I'm certain that any leg is going to be duplicated. So I'm going to just line one leg up with all 4 pieces, scribe along each of the sides using this one leg as a guide. That'll speed up the whole marking process of where that shoulder should come on the back side of the leg. I have my mortise and gauge distance set from the blade to the wall here at 1/4 of an inch, which is what I need for the offset on my tenons. If I'm a little bit off on that, it's not too big of a deal because I will be wedging this tenon from top to bottom, and any difference if I'm a little bit off will be made up there, but I do want it as close as possible, especially for that bottom shelf where the tenon's going to be resting and determining the height of the crossbar on each of the legs. So I'll just pull my gauge along the edges and mark it. And then I'll mark that out with pencil so I can see it a little bit easier. And you can see I've already done this side. Since I don't have a leg vise, I've got just this simple workbench here. I've got a piece of plywood clamped to the side of the bench because I don't want this lip to get in the way, and that'll also make sure that the wood is clamped securely. That's just part of my quote leg vise. And I have another clamp that I've attached here to help hold my Y that I'm going to be cutting the tenons onto against this piece of wood. It's nice and firm and tight. Nothing's going anywhere. I have it set at a 45-degree angle. That'll enable me to cut the top down to about this point, and then I'll flip it over so that I can have the other side cutting to the center. That way I can see also when I'm getting down to my shoulder line without actually cutting into that shoulder. When I flip it over, the kerf will follow normally into the kerf line that I've already cut. So that'll ensure things are a little bit more straight on the way they belong. Now that I have the two sides cut out all the way down, I'll just take out the center waist. And you can see it's just maybe halfway down that I have to join that part together. As soon as I get this going. I still have maybe a ½ inch on the other side. I really don't want to cut through my shoulder, so I'm going to call that good enough, and I'll take that out when I cut the shoulder away. My quality control inspector stopped by and he approved of the work that's been done so far. We did a dry fit of the hayrake joinery before moving on. Now that I have the joinery established and everything in place, I can see whether my taping is actually where it belongs, and it looks like I have just a slight gap there, but with the crossbar in place and a slight gap on this side, I can now scribe those lines to ensure that my crossbars go across the way that they should and everything will fit together correctly. So I'll scribe those with a marking knife, flat side against the surface, drawing the lines down in a vertical so that the crossbar sets down in. And we're going to be leaving a little bit of a stub tenon in the center so that this sits into the leg and is pretty much locked in place by the sides and that tenon. The next thing I'm going to be doing is chamfering off the corners of the legs. This will allow me to lay the leg flat on some faces and clamp while I make the mortises here for receiving the crossbar on the top. So to do that, I'm going to use a table saw. I have a fence set up to hold my work straight. The blade is set at 45 degrees and the width is set to be just outside of, in my case, I'm putting on a 7/8 of an inch long chamfer that is going to be inside of the 1 inch cross section of the crossbars on top. So I have my blade set so that it won't take my pencil line away. I'll clean that up with a plane after I get it sawed off, and we'll be good to go. So this is the profile of my leg. I've got just a nice chamfer on each of the corners. I'm going to rip the mortise inside of my markings so that I don't have so much to chop away. Just using a handsaw for that. I'm using some 45-degree cutoffs to help stabilize the leg on the chamfer side while I work on the joinery. There is a tenon inside the crossbar mortise. It starts 1 1/4 inches down from the top of the leg and it's about 1 1/2 inches long. I'll saw out the sides of the crossbar mortise as far as my tenon line, then I'll chop out the rest with a chisel. So I've got my kerf lines cut out there. This is the depth for this top part, and this is the depth for the shoulder here where I have the side down. That way I know how deep I need to go on this. My saw kerf only goes down about 1/4 inch, so I'm still cutting the side walls with my chisel. Do need to make sure I keep it nice and straight. Part of that is I'll always take a full width across on the chisel, because that helps keep it from twisting in the mortise. on the final back wall. Got my scribe line that I can set my chisel in. And I want to walk that across to make sure I have a good crisp wall. The tenons I have set on this square. Just pull that in. It's convenient that it's wide enough. And pencil it in so I can see it. I need to saw these curves all the way back to that line so that I can chop that part out and have nice straight sides. Otherwise I'm going to have to do too much chiseling. Here's a look at the top of the leg with the mortise and stub tenon cut. Coming up, still more base joinery.